Hey guys, it's me, Devin, and I'm here for my June wrap-up, which is also my Kpopathon18 wrap-up and my O.W.L.S wrap-up, so it's a lot of wrap-ups all together. If you guys don't know, I host a readathon which lasts all month long, all year, and each month is a different artist. And basically, Kpopathon is just as the title says. It's a readathon based on K-pop, which is Korean pop music. So every month we pick an artist or a group and we read books based on challenges which are based on that artist. So for the month of June, the artist was IU. She is a solo artist. And for that readathon, I ended up reading 2.5 books, which is not horrible. So I will get to those in a minute. But I also participated in the O.W.L.S readathon, which is a Harry Potter readathon hosted by G at Book Roast. And she technically had these O.W.L.S in April. Basically, the O.W.L.S are the ordinary wizarding level exams in Hogwarts. And she had this readathon in April. It was all month long, and it had to do with all 12 classes at Hogwarts. And you had to read one book per class based on the challenge. And since I didn't realize this was a thing until more than halfway through April, I decided to do it in June when I had more time. Now for the O.W.L.S readathon, I planned on reading 4 to 5 books, but I only read 3, but it's still good because I really enjoyed those 3 books I read, so I'm going to go over those as well. But before we go over those 2 readathons, I wanted to mention the 3 books that I started in June but didn't finish. So the first book I started but didn't finish actually went for one of the challenges in the O.W.L.S, which I thought I would finish because it's such a small book, but I just wasn't in the mood to read it until the very end, and I didn't have much time at the very end of the month to read. And that book is Wish Tree by Catherine Applegate. It doesn't have the dust jacket on it, but this is a middle grade novel, and Catherine Applegate also wrote The One and Only Ivan, which is one of my favorite, if not favorite, middle grade books ever. And the Wish Tree follows basically a wish tree. This tree lives in this neighborhood, and once a year, all the people in the neighborhood come and hang trinkets on the tree, like ribbons and yarn, and they wish for one thing for that year. It could be trivial, like I wish I got this toy, or it could be something like I wish my best friend loved me, or I wish the world had no war, something like that. And it follows the perspective of the wish tree with all of his animal friends as this new girl comes into the neighborhood, but isn't as welcome as you figured she would be. So it's really beautiful. I read it halfway earlier in the year, and I wanted to restart it this month, and I got about 100 pages in out of this 200-page book, so I do plan on finishing this in July, so look forward to that. Another book that I started for the O.W.L.S readathon, but I only got like 50 pages in, is a book I listened to on audio with the app Scribd. Scribd is only like $9 a month, and you get unlimited audiobooks and ebooks and documents and stuff like that. But that book that I started was The Alchemist by Michael Scott. This is the first book in the Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel series. I think this is a 7-book series, and this book would have covered the class Potions, which was to read a book about alchemy, and obviously the title has The Alchemist in it. So yeah, enjoying it, but I just was not in the mood for it, so I never finished this. And by the way, Wish Tree would have covered herbology class, which was to read a book with a nature-related word in the title, which tree is a nature-related word. And the third book that actually finished the 1st of July, but I'm not counting it in my June wrap-up because I didn't finish it in June, would have covered one of the challenges in the Kpopathon, which was to read a book that involved music. And that book that I finished at the 1st of July was Infinite by Jodi Meadows. This is the 3rd book in her New Souls trilogy. I can't talk much about this because it is the 3rd book, but basically this series is all about a girl named Anna who was born into a world where everyone else in her area, her country that she lives in, is reborn after they die, and it's just a continuous cycle that's been going on. It's been going on for 5 million years, and she's the first ever new soul, which means she's never been born before. This is her first life, and it may only be her only life. And basically it's just her journey, meeting people, and trying to figure out why she was born. So I absolutely love this series. Please read this series if you haven't yet. There's 3 books. They're all out. You will absolutely love it. But I will talk about it in my July wrap-up. So first, I'm going to start off with the Kpopathon wrap-up. So for the Kpopathon, I ended up reading 2 books, like I said, and I started another book, which I just remembered. That book, I don't know who it's by, but it's called Scrawl, which I will put the author name here. I got about 30 to 40% in, and I really do enjoy it. I just never finished it. So maybe in July I'll finish it. And that would have taken care of the challenge to read a book about bullying. Scratch that. I didn't finish 2 challenges. I only finished 1. I don't know why I thought I finished 2. I'm looking at my book now. The other one that I thought I finished, I didn't finish. I only read 100 pages of that book. And that book, I don't have at the moment. I don't know where it is. I think it's in the living room or kitchen somewhere. But that book is The Land of Stories by Chris Colfer. But I didn't get a chance to finish it. That would have completed the challenge. Read the last required fantasy book that you had, or so the last book you either got for free from, you know, an ARC or publisher, and or the last fantasy that you bought. However, I did not finish it. So I completed 1 challenge and then halfway finished 2 challenges. So the only challenge I did complete was to read an author's debut book that is not as popular as her other newer releases. And for that, I chose one of my favorite young adult authors, and that book was Golden by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This book is all about a girl named Lizzie who moves from California to Oklahoma, I believe. And she was born into a family where all the women in all the generations past and going to be future all have some sort of seeing ability. Her mother has the ability to see glimpses of the future, like see photographs of the picture in her mind. And our main character, Lizzie, has the ability to see color auras around people. So when she looks at you, she sees you, but then she also sees this kind of glow about you, and each person has a different color. Doesn't like her abilities at all. They kind of make her seem like a freak because she kind of sees things other people can't see, so people always think she's staring out of nowhere and all this kind of stuff. And she's not happy about moving to California. And when she gets to this high school, she gets thrown into this craziness of these Goldens and these Nons. Basically, Goldens are like the really popular people in school, and the Nons, of course, are the non-populars. And something strange is going on. Her abilities start acting differently, and she's kind of got to figure out why the hell they're acting differently and try to survive this school of Goldens who seem to want to destroy her, and just getting through high school. And I really enjoyed it. I really love the ability, the fact that she can see auras, and when you progressively see how it changes and what her true ability is, it's just really fascinating. I will say that the characters did kind of annoy me because they were very immature kind of in the way they thought and the way they acted, but she is, I think, a 15-year-old, so I give, you know, that's the perspective this book was written from, and I believe the author at that time was very young when she wrote this as well. So if I take it for what it is, a young adult, teen, high school paranormal book, I really enjoyed it. And even after that, like, I just love the story, so I gave this book 4.5 stars, and I highly suggest, if you like that kind of paranormal high school special abilities type of book, do go, I would suggest reading this. Also, Wish Tree would have counted for the Kpopathon as well. I just realized that as well. So that's all for the Kpopathon. I only read 1 book and started 3 books. So the Kpopathon was not as productive for me, but the Owls readathon was. So the main classes that I wanted to take for the Owls were Herbology, Care of Magical Creatures, Potions, Defense Against the Dark Arts, Charms, and Transfiguration. Out of those 6, I read 3, which is good because the Newts readathon is coming up in August, and it is basically the second version of the Owls. The Owls are the ordinary wizarding level, and the Newts are the step up from that, and they're much harder and much more focused on the specific careers that you want to take. And in the Newts, you can only take the exams of the classes that you completed in the Owls. So I completed 3 exams. I completed the Care of Magical Creatures, I completed the Transfiguration, and I completed the Charms. So when it goes to the Newts in August, those are the only 3 classes that I'm allowed to take, sadly. But those are much harder, and there's more challenges per class, so it actually helps me out a bit, and I've kind of already started planning that TBR. So the first challenge I ended up completing was for Transfiguration, and that was to read a book about shapeshifting or anything like that. And the book I chose was Tokyo Ghoul 3 by Ishida. This is basically a book about this character Ken, who lives in a world where ghouls exist, and one night he gets attacked by a ghoul, barely survives, gets taken to the hospital, and the ghoul ends up being crushed and dying, and the doctor, in order to save him, without knowing that the person is a ghoul, takes the ghoul's liver and transplants it into Ken, and when Ken wakes up, he realizes now he is half ghoul and half human, so he's kind of got to struggle to figure out how does that work. Like, he wants to be human, but he can't deny the ghoul inside of him, so he's kind of got to try to figure out how to survive in this world where ghouls are hunted and humans hate ghouls, but he is one, but he's also human. And I just love this series. It's so dark, and I just love how the story is progressing so far, and I just love the main character Ken, so I cannot wait to finish this series. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and I cannot wait to get to the 4th, 5th, and 6th book, which I just got from the library, so that is going to be read in June, and I'm so excited. Now on to the last 3 books I read in June. They are all part of a series, and 2 of the 3 actually fit into the owls. So the other owls that I did complete were Care Magical Creatures and Charms. Care Magical Creatures was to read a book about a fantastical creature, magical creature on the cover or in the book, and Charms was to read a fantasy. So for Care Magical Creatures, I read Unwanted's Island of Shipwrecks by Lisa McMahon, the 5th book in the Unwanted series. And for Charms, I read Unwanted's Island of Graves by Lisa McMahon, the 6th book in the series. And I ended up completing the whole series by reading the 7th book, Island of Dragons, by Lisa McMahon, which didn't complete any owls, unfortunately, but I ended up reading all 3 books, and I'm so excited. So if you guys don't know, the Unwanted series is all about a world where if you show at a young age, under the age of 13, any type of creative, I wouldn't say abilities, but any type of creativity. So if you like singing, if you like being dramatic and acting, if you like drawing or anything like that, making things, you are considered unwanted. It is considered basically illegal to be creative. At the age of, once a year, there's a thing that happens which is called the purge. All 13-year-olds get evaluated whether they're wanted, unwanted, or necessaries. Necessaries are people who get jobs that are kind of necessary. The rest of the city, town to survive, so like farmers, you know, all that kind of stuff. Then there's the wanteds, who are deemed smart and intelligent. They go to school, they work for the government. And then you have the unwanteds, who are the creative ones, who when you are purged, you are sent off to your death to be thrown into the lake of boiling oil, I believe it's considered. And basically follows 2 twins, Aaron and Alex, and on Purge Day, one of the twins, Aaron, is considered wanted, and the other twin, Alex, is considered unwanted. So it follows Alex and Aaron's perspective through the whole series. You go back and forth between both perspectives, and basically the first book follows Alex as he's sent off to his death, but then realizes that all the kids that have been purged from the island of Quill that they live on have actually not died, but they have been saved by a wizard named Mr. Today, and he lives in this magical world called Arteme, and he has Arteme kind of invisible to the rest of the island, and when they get to the gates of the boiling lake of oil, that's when they realize that boiling lake of oil does not exist, and Arteme lives there. And everyone in Arteme is very creative. You've got actors, you've got singers, you've got people who can draw, people who paint, and those who are deemed creative are deemed high status. You know, if you can draw and create things, you are wanted here. And they learn that with their creative abilities, like drawing and singing, they can do magic. And it's just an amazing series. I highly suggest it. I know that was a long explanation, but this series, guys, is one of my ultimate favorite series ever. Like, you got Harry Potter, and then you got Del Toro Quest, and then you got The Unwanteds. There are 7 books, and each book is amazing. For the Island of Shipwrecks, I can't talk much about the next 3 books because they're the 5th, 6th, and 7th book. But I will say that this one was a lot slower, but it had a lot more, like, not character growth, but you had a lot more going on with the characters and coming into themselves more. And this fit Care Magical Creatures because even though, oh, you can see it on the cover. there's a lot of magical beings and talking statues and flying tortoises, but the main magical creature is a cheetah that can fly that's made out of sand, and his name is Simber, and you can see him on the cover there, as well as the 6th book, Island of Graves. He's right there. So for Island of Shipwrecks, I gave this 5 stars. I love this whole series. Every book in this series got 5 stars from me. And then Island of Graves was one of those turning point books for the rest of the series. Like, the main plot of the first 5 were it followed Aaron and Alex and everything that's different about them. But once book 6 comes around, the plot definitely shifts in a way that sets up for a great finale. So I did enjoy this, and the Island of Graves is absolutely terrifying, what they find on that. And I don't know. Of course, I gave this 5 stars, and I can't talk much more about it, but all I know is I love Simber, and I love Sky, and I love Alex, and I want to be in this world, but I'm not creative. I'd probably be like a necessary if I lived in this world, and it's sad. And then you've got the final book, Island of Dragons, which obviously by the title and the cover, you have dragons. And I will say this book kind of has one of the most satisfying conclusions to a series that I've read. And I know that there's also like a spin-off series that follow this world 13 years later. I can't say who it follows or what it follows because it's a giant spoiler for this book. I wouldn't say a giant spoiler, but it is a spoiler for the 4th book and the 4th book on in the series, I believe. But this conclusion was so good. All I say is, Lisa McMahon, why are you becoming like the author of Game of Thrones? Why must you kill some of my favorite characters? Why? 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 So besides that, I will warn you, Unwanted, there is a lot of character death. Like, even the first book itself starts off this whole, like, some of these characters, are they going to live? Are they going to die? Because Artemis is in a constant war with the rest of the world because no one wants them to exist for some reason. And this book series gave me such a book hangover because I finished this book in a day and a half. Island of Graves started on the 15th, ended on the 16th of June. And I started this the 16th and ended at the 17th, I believe. If not, it was a day or two before that. So I listened to the audiobooks, by the way, which audiobooks I completely recommend. But these 2 books I read in a day and a half. And after this, I didn't read a single thing until like the 28th. And that's when I started Infinite by Jodi Meadows. And I was a week of book slump. Like, I had a book slump, reading slump, whatever you want to call it, for a week. And I'm mad I didn't read more books, but that book slump was so worth it because that series was so amazing. So that's all the books I read for June. I am sorry this video is so long, but I just want to talk about my feelings. And if any of you guys have read the Unwanted series, please let me know, because this series, like, no one I know has read it, and no one I know that has wanted to read it on BookTube has actually read it or even gotten halfway through the series. So I need someone to talk to. So if you've read this series completely, please let me know. And if you've read any of these other books, also let me know, because I want to know what you guys think about it. You know, if I liked it, did you like it? Did you hate it? If you hated it, tell me why. But that's all. I will see you guys in the video for my July TBR, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!